still can't pay though. But I got just enough to get off in this club. Have me a good time.
Hey guys, I flew in from JFK last night, and of all people, Willie Nelson was on my flight. So he sends his regards to all of you. And I think we're the only thing preventing you from eating lunch right now. So we're going to try to keep this pretty painless.
Very mindful of that.
Yeah, pretty painless. So John, let's start by talking about what programmatic is. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to Reuters? How do you guys approach programmatic today?
Sure. And I apologize to anyone stage right for the lights giving you, blinding you here off my bald spot, but or spots. As on the publishing side, we should be approaching programmatic in regards to meeting demand. And the demand out there is for reaching scale, being efficient, trying to use data to the best of your ability, being able to do it efficiently, being able to buy, pushing buttons, and doing it easily along those lines. And that's how we should be approaching it, and that's what we do. In my role, I focus mostly on direct sales and PMP, and so that's what we try to do is set up the right PMP deals with our clients through our direct sales team and otherwise.
Okay, so you mentioned efficiency. It's a common theme that comes up in every panel. Would you say that's the biggest benefit of programmatic?
It is. It's certainly a big benefit from most of the different sides of the equation. Efficiency shouldn't mean cheap, however, and I think that's how a lot of this started, and a lot of it kind of got out of whack, if you will, especially in the open exchange. For us, I heard some comments. I think it was Brian earlier that talked about how publishers, initially set up sales teams and set up programmatic, and how they worked on their block list. We were those people. We set up all of our best direct clients right to the block list. No way, you're not coming through the back door. And what we've seen is really that was a flawed strategy. And we've changed that somewhat. We've done it a few different ways. So the first way is, I looked at it when I came on about a year and a half ago at Reuters to say, okay, let's pull select people off. Let's open them up on the open exchange and see what activity is, drive demand, and then start that open dialogue with brands, with their agencies, with the buy side. We've seen some success there. It wasn't like mind-blowing. 2 years ago, having all those firms on a block list didn't make sense. It didn't prevent them from buying us. It didn't us having them on the block list didn't make them buy massively from us direct necessarily. So it wasn't the right mix. What we've also done is taking a kind of, I think I've heard this through a prior speaker today as well, in terms of the makeup of the team and what our direct team handles, how much they get involved with programmatic, et cetera. So I have to applaud the agency partners out there, some of the big holdings, whether it's Starcom, OMG, that are really investing in training their staff on programmatic, the rules, the terminology, how it works, what are the benefits, how do you speak to clients, et cetera. They should be applauded for that. We're trying to do the same thing from the publisher standpoint. And by that, all of our reps are having private marketplace type discussions with both agency and client. We pay them. I pay my reps on private marketplace deals. They're happy about that. I didn't always used to. So they're always thrilled about making more commission. But it's part of the dialogue now. And also, the reason why it makes sense in my mind is that the buyers are kind of coming closer together and more connected. So 2 years ago, the people that were buying programmatically weren't necessarily part or dialed in with the different media planning teams within agencies. It's more of an open conversation now, and I think it just makes sense for us, probably for everybody, to do that.
So you mentioned that you're paying your sellers on programmatic revenue
Yeah.
via deal ID that comes in addition to IOs.
Correct.
So have you found that they're very enthusiastic about programmatic? Do they approach it synergistically? What are your thoughts on how the sellers are now viewing programmatic revenue?
Okay, well, it's interesting. So I'm old enough, I'm long enough in the tooth to remember, what it was like trying to educate and train traditional print reps how to sell digital. And then we evolve into, which is not necessarily the same, but we evolve into digital reps understanding programmatic, being able to speak, and actually trying to drive revenue that way. So across my direct sales team, the skill set varies, the level of comfort level varies, the level of revenue generated as a result of that varies. So we have specialists on hand that handle both open exchange and PMP. They go on joint sales calls, either whether it's within traditional agencies, desks, et cetera. And we're getting there. It's definitely an evolving space for us, for everybody. And my only goal is to really answer the market demand and try to pull as much revenue out of the market as possible.
Right. Yep. The fundamental nature of media, I think, is changing. I don't think a lot of people are watching the news at 5 o'clock in front of the TV live anymore. For me, most of my media is consumed with Netflix or HBO. Both of them independent of cable, of course. So talk about that for Reuters. Premium publisher, great name. How are you guys evolving to accommodate that changing landscape?
Yeah. I mean, as a global news organization, we already are invested heavily in digital and in video, and we will continue to do that. We're double downing there. We're double downing on mobile as well. For us, and maybe we could do a show of hands in the room. How many people each evening go home and watch network news? If I didn't feel like a French fry, I could see you, I would count that. But a very small percentage, I'm sure. And as a news organization, we realize that model is flawed, right? Is that the market, the mass of the market, millennial, Gen X, Gen Y, just don't consume content that way. So we have all these great video assets. We don't have a network news channel, but they're also not necessarily going to our desktop site for that. So that's where we kind of adjusted and about a year and a half ago started hiring journalists, retraining journalists that can be more camera facing out in the field. We have more journalists and bureaus around the world than anyone, so it's hard to train a staff like that and to hire that way. But that's where Reuters TV was born. It basically takes video content, puts it into a news app. It's personalized to the user, so you can download anywhere between 5 and 30 seconds of the app. And it's serving actually mid-roll, TV mid-roll creative in-app. And not just in-app on iPhone and tablet, which is coming soon, but also on desktop sites through a syndicated player. So that's where, and I'll kind of kick it back to you a little bit, that's where there's real mix and flow coming between traditional linear TV and digital video. It's great from a brand or marketer perspective because, listen, the more legwork and more running time you can get out of the tremendous investment you put in your assets, the better. And so those lines will be blurred. Where TV starts to get bought programmatically, that's a discussion point that we should start talking about as well. And, your thoughts are on that.
It's we talk about, one thing we talk about is programmatic overhyped, because it's one of those things that it's constantly talked about. It's the headline of everything. But really, programmatic is just an infrastructure, is the way I see it. So I've got no doubt that we'll be transacting TV commercials, linear TV in the future via technology, DSPs, et cetera, et cetera. I want to pause now for any questions. We only have a couple minutes left. Are there any questions from the crowd?
And we must be starving by now. So.
Yeah.
That's difficult.
No questions. Okay. Then I don't want to dismiss everyone for lunch, but I think it's lunchtime. I'll defer to Brian on that.
I assume somebody has a role to do that, whether that role is ours or not. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.